Clemson baseball bounces back with their midweek games after a less than stellar showing against the South Carolina Gamecocks. We will talk about it, and joining me to talk about it is two of my best friends, Big Al, Alan Adams, and Mr. Houston Burnett. Again, very awesome to have you guys join me because, as you know, you guys are way better at baseball than I am. But, Clemson did have a very high profile game last weekend against South Carolina, a 3-game stretch where they lost the series against the Gamecocks, which kind of, nobody ever wants. But since then, they have rebounded, or as Houston likes to say, bounces back or bounced back against East Tennessee State, winning 4-1, and Presbyterian winning 5-3. Now they face Georgia State this weekend. How important is it for Clemson to get the series win this weekend, or maybe even a sweep against Georgia State? Houston?
I would say sweep would be the maximum optimal result this weekend to build confidence on this team. There's a lot of things that they're working through. This team looks like a year one team for something that took over. I don't think anyone got to see the cobwebs fully exposed until the UCF series. And they've had to work through a lot of issues, especially in the bullpen this year. They've had some major issues. But as you've said, there's been a bounce back in the last 2 games where they've seen some arms come out there and look really good. They got better effort out of a few guys that really cost them in the South Carolina series. I don't think a lot of people expected to win that series this past weekend. In all likelihood, they were one good pitching inning away from winning the whole daggum series. So getting that sweep this weekend and really building the confidence within your bullpen and continuing to put together good, solid hitting is what's key.
Now, the starting pitchers this weekend, Big Al, Austin Gordon on Friday. Then you have Tristan Smith, I believe freshman guy, on Saturday. And then the infamous Sunday pitcher, TBD or TBA. Whichever way you want to say it. We don't know who it is. The ghost of TBA. Man, you know what? He is lights out, but can't play any defense because he's never there. TBA. We don't know who it is. Al, why is it Austin Gordon, Tristan Smith, and TBA?
Well, mainly because our Friday night guy is out right now. Ryan Ammons is out with some kind of injury. I think he said it was some forearm tightness or a forearm sprain or something like that. So that's kind of tough. I mean, obviously with Ryan Ammons, we win the series probably against South Carolina in all likelihood. He's our best pitcher, best arm we've got. Tristan Lee though came out and pitched really well. Did I say Tristan Lee? I said Tristan Lee. Tristan Smith. Yeah. Tristan Smith comes out and he pitched really well against South Carolina. I was very impressed. That's a series, like Houston said, you didn't expect to win going in. As a matter of fact, I said going into the series, just don't get swept. They accomplished that in game one. The problem with that is when they accomplish it in game one and they win the game, and then they're up 7-3 in the seventh in game two, you start to get that hope. You start to get that confidence and start to get that feeling. We're going to win this series. Somehow they found a way to blow that. The arms just were not enough, man. The bullpen is just not there yet. I don't know that it's going to be there this year. I don't know that it's going to be there until we get some help or we get healthy. Not sure. We just got a lot to work out, like Houston said, with this team. So I think, you feel comfortable for the most part with Alex Gordon. He's looked really good so far. No complaints there. And Tristan Smith as well. Looked really good in his first major start the other day. You just really got to like what you see from that guy. And I think most people thought he was going to be a star when he got here. And so I don't think he's veering off that path at all. I think he's right on track to do just that. We thought he would be a weekend starter sooner rather than later. And I guess as far as Sunday's concerned, not sure who they're going to throw out there. It could potentially be Billy Barlow. Could he be back? He was obviously on a really low pitch count this past week. And, could it be, I don't know, could it be a Caden Grice? He just kind of pitched the other day. But he can certainly come back by Sunday, as the TBA. So we're not really sure what they're going to do. The pitching is going to struggle for a while until they figure out their roles, gain a little more confidence. And it wasn't to be against South Carolina. They had a lot of big bats. They hit a couple of balls that looked like they went 500 feet when they were coming back on Saturday. And Sunday, we just ran out of arms. But again, Houston said, as this segment is titled, they bounce back in the midweek. You've got those couple wins that you just had to get to gain confidence. I think, as Houston mentioned, you want to get the sweep against Georgia State, because if this season has any chance to get where you want it to go, you've got to sweep the teams like Georgia State. And I'm not saying Georgia State's a bad team, But Clemson is a team that it should expect to beat that team. They should expect to beat them and well enough to get the sweep. I think that's kind of the way we need to be thinking about things. They've got to get some confidence. We had hoped it was going to come against South Carolina. Looked like it might happen briefly and then kind of drop the last two. So it is what it is. But hopefully this Clemson team can get some momentum, get ready to rock and roll going forward, and kind of achieve what this team wants to achieve. They just gotta take it slow and steady while they're figuring the pieces out.
The Tigers are averaging 6.5 runs per game and hitting 286 average, slugging 435, and then with a 383 on base percentage with 32 steals. So overall, Houston, are you satisfied with where the hitting is at? Looks like the leaders in the clubhouse right now, Cam Canarella, another freshman out there, one of the guys that's got leading the way with batting average there. And I've been hearing his name a ton. I know Corey Welch, our resident expert in baseball, mentioned Cam Canarella at the beginning of the season. And then you have Gavin Abrams and Blake Wright underneath him. Is the hitting and the batting where you think it should be right now?
I mean, where it should be and where you want it to be for right now is two different things. I think compared to where Clemson was last season and the prior 2 to 3 seasons, I think you've seen signs of progress and what you want to see progressing from that. I don't see as many strikeouts when I watch it. And Al, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they're striking out quite as much this year. I think the approach is more balanced. You're not looking out there to go bash a bunch of home runs. Therefore, you're not striking out. So I think right now you're seeing this natural progression of, they're not scoring 20 plus runs a game. They're scoring 6, 7, 8, 9 runs a game, which I think Eric Bakich is perfectly content with. He wants to model his offense similar to that to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt doesn't get out there and bash a bunch of home runs. They hit homers, but they're also perfectly content to beat you with 1,000 paper cuts if you give them a bunch of singles or doubles or whatever like that. He wants them smart on the plate, and I think they've done a pretty good job, especially with Cam Canarella, Gavin Abrams, Blake Wright, Blackwell, and some of the others that are batting pretty well this year. It's just a matter of finding the clutch hit when you need it. I think that there's been a couple games this year that Clemson could have won, and similar to South Carolina. If they had one good pitching inning, they could have won the series. I think that they could have potentially won the series against UCF had they had a couple more clutch hits when they needed to. So it's just finding that balance. I don't think it's the offense is the finished product that it's going to be or where Eric Bakich wants it to be. But I can tell you, I think for longevity and for where the program wants to go, I think I like where this is, and I just want to see it continue to grow.
Alan, we'll jump over to pitching. I'm looking at the staff right now on average has 4.3 or 4.03 ERA, and batting average for opponents is 262. With a 2.75 strikeout to walk ratio. Clemson's fielding 965. You mentioned this before we did the recording. Don't talk about pitching, but I want to talk about it because we have to. It's a key part of the game. I'm looking here on the list, and you got guys like Jay Dill, who originally started out as a starter. His ERA is 8.49. Obviously that's really high. You mentioned Billy Barlow, 6 right now ERA. Ryan Ammons, a guy who's been injured, as you mentioned, 2.70 ERA, a lot better there. So, and then Tristan Smith there is a guy who has a 0 ERA, so doing really great. So, what does Clemson need to do other than get Ryan Ammons back? Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's a lot else they really need to do. But honestly, I mean, I feel like they've walked a little more than I would have liked to have seen them do so far this year, especially when Eric Bakich likes to talk about pounding the strike zone. We hear that a lot. That's kind of a baseball catchphrase. We're going to pound the strike zone. I feel like they've walked a few too many, and when they do that, that leads them to throw too much over the plate. And then South Carolina does what South Carolina does to you. You know what I mean? There's too many long balls being hit off of them when they do that. So they've got to find that balance. They've got to just kind of just fine tune that pitching to kind of get those locations down a little bit better. But we have a lot of people when they don't have a lot of natural movement on their pitches, especially when it comes to the fastball. Their fastball's not tailing or anything like that. And when you've got a fastball that's that's not moving or it's not dropping, it's not cutting at all. ERA is clear over 10. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but it's that he was a starter. He was a starter last year.
14.73.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, that kind of stuff can't happen. And Rocco Reed, who was brought in to a critical situation against South Carolina and did not pitch well. That's I question bringing him in at that point. He's obviously got a very high ERA. We've got to get some of those down. Olenchuk has started from us from time to time, and he's just he's just struggling. It is what it is. I don't know what else to say about it really, but you got to get Ryan Emmons healthy. He's your guy. I mean, he's been your closer for a couple years. He's got the best stuff. You need him out there to be your Friday night anchor is what you need. And then Tristan Smith and Alex Gordon can play off of that. You get your Friday night dub, and then the pressure it's not off. Certainly, you want to continue to win, but you get that first one in the books, and it's a little bit easier to go from there. And if you can get Billy Barlow healthy and Weiss healthy, that kind of thing, all of a sudden you're looking at a better pitching staff. So just get healthy. I think is a big part for the Tigers right now. And they're going to have to get some more. Going to have to get some more talent. These next few recruiting classes, Eric Bakich is really going to have to bring them in, and not lose them to the draft, which seems to happen a lot. Especially to Clemson, they've had several good pitchers and good players, position players they've lost to the draft. So that's tough as well. But just give the staff some time. I have no doubt they'll improve upon it. Like Houston was mentioning, I like the approach at the plate too. I think they've done well there. Chad Ferry and Caden Grice have upped that average. They're not hitting where they need to. Grice is a little bit different at 286, but without the home runs. That's a big part of his game. He's not hitting them. He's striking out. He's still striking out a good bit more than he needs to, but he is choking up on that second strike. If you'll notice, he gets 2 strikes, chokes up on the bat. So I like where the hitting's going. I think most of us are hitting, or most of the Clemson Tigers are hitting for a good average. You need to see Cooper Ingle get back up. He's below 300. Cooper Ingle should never be below 300. He's hit the ball pretty good this year, just right at a lot of people, and that's happened for several games. Will Taylor, this is a guy they talk about been turning down some big money to go pro. He's hitting like 250. He's got to do better. He's not seeing the breaking stuff very well right now, or not making good contact. That's something that's got to change. But really, other than Taylor and Ingle getting going, which I think they will, there's not really a lot I had to say about the bats. You're not going to get the home runs out of this club. That's just not the philosophy anymore. But if they kind of take those baby steps Houston was talking about, kind of get them going a little bit, I think this team is a much different team come mid-season, end of season than they are right now.
Agreed, 100%.
Also want to give a shout out to Jackson Lindley, who's been a big time player out of the pen.
Yep.
He right now is 1-for-1 with a save and a 1.59 ERA, keeping batters to a 220 battering average in 11.1 innings pitched with 15 strikeouts and only 3 walks. So great job there for Jackson Lindley, a fifth-year senior, by the way. So I want to give a shout-out to him and what he's done so far for the team. Again, the Tigers get ready to host Georgia State this weekend. Hey, let us know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with Big Al and Houston's take on the pitching staff and what needs to improve for the team to continue to evolve and get better? Again, this kind of first-year team, really not kind of, it is first-year team for head coach Eric Bakich.